in the summer of 1976. A social worker named Margaret Vance climbed a muddy mountain road in eastern Kentucky after hearing whispers about strange children living on the old Fowler property. Asterisk, the closer she got, the quieter the forest became. No birds, no insects, nothing. It felt like the woods were holding their breath. When she reached the clearing, the house looked abandoned for years. Broken windows covered with cloth, wood rotting into wood, and a smell of decay drifting out of the cracks. Asterisk, Margaret called out. No answer. She stepped onto the porch, and that's when she heard it. Children's voices. Not from the house, but from under the ground. Behind the building, half buried in weeds, she found a wooden hatch. When she pulled it open, cold air rolled up from a deep, dark root cellar. Asterisk, Margaret climbed down the steps with her flashlight and froze. 3 children stood at the bottom. 2 girls and a boy. Asterisk, pale skin. Visible blue veins, eyes reflecting light like animals in headlights. They didn't cry, they didn't run. Asterisk, they just stared. Silent, as if they had been waiting for her. Asterisk, their clothes were handmade and filthy. Their hair was cut almost to the scalp with strange symbols burned into their skin circles. Lines, patterns that didn't belong on any child. Asterisk, Margaret whispered, where are your parents? The boy slowly lifted his hand and pointed upward toward the house, then downward toward the earth beneath his feet. Asterisk, Margaret didn't know what that meant. But she knew one thing, she needed backup. Within hours, police and 2 silent federal agents arrived. The children were carried out wrapped in blankets. None of them spoke a single real word. Asterisk, but as they were taken toward the vehicles, all 3 turned their heads at the same moment and stared back at the rotten floor of the house. Asterisk, like something was still down there. Asterisk, like something was still listening. Asterisk, what investigators found inside the house would be far worse. As soon as the children were taken out, officers entered the Fowler house and stepped into something that felt wrong the moment the door opened. Asterisk inside. Everything looked abandoned. Dust everywhere. Rotten food in cupboards. Asterisk mattresses. Torn open. Asterisk furniture flipped or arranged facing. Walls like someone didn't want the chairs to see. Anything. Asterisk. But the worst part was a back room with its door nailed shut from the outside. Heavy boards. Rusty. Nails. Asterisk. Like someone was locking something. 2 officers pried it open. The smell hit. First old blood, decay, and something metallic. Asterisk. The walls were covered top to bottom in strange symbols. The same shapes burned into the children's scalps. Asterisk, circles inside circles. Branch-like lines. Hundreds of them. Asterisk, mixed between the symbols were shaky drawings of human-like figures. But limbs too long. Asterisk, eyes in the wrong place. Bodies bent like they were made of joints no human should have. In the center of the room was a wooden table with leather straps on all sides. Asterisk, the wood was stained dark. Asterisk, later testing would prove the stains were human blood 3 types, all matching the 3 children found below the house. Asterisk, 2 men in unmarked suits took control immediately. They took the pictures, they took the notes, they took everything. By the next morning, the evidence was gone. Asterisk, officers who entered the room asked for transfers. 1 quit the same month because they all knew one thing. Asterisk, whatever had been happening in that house wasn't meant for human eyes. The children were taken to a secret facility. Asterisk, doctors were ordered not to speak. And when the first blood tests came back, everything changed again. Asterisk, at the secret facility in Lexington, doctors expected the children to be sick or injured. Asterisk, instead, they found things that made no medical sense. All 3 children had 94 degrees Fahrenheit body temperature, slow heartbeats, too slow to be normal, extremely light bones. Asterisk, eyes that reacted to light like animals. Not humans, but the real shock came when their blood reached the genetics lab. A technician named Patricia Gomez, with 11 years of experience, ran the first child's sample and stopped moving for nearly a full minute. The chromosome count was normal 46, but the patterns, the markers, the sequences, didn't match any known human group on Earth. She thought it was contamination. She ran the test again. Same. Result, asterisk. She tested the second child and the third. All three were impossible. Their DNA didn't link to Europe, asterisk. Africa, Asia, Native America, asterisk. Or any known ancient population, asterisk. They're mitochondrial. DNA passed from mother to child looked older than recorded human history, as if their lineage had split from humanity 8,000 to 12,000 years ago. That shouldn't exist. Not in modern America, not anywhere. Patricia called her supervisor, asterisk. He made her run the tests again while he watched. Same results. 4 hours later, 2 silent federal men appeared, carrying badges with strange acronyms she didn't recognize. They seized everything. The blood samples, the reports, the computer logs, asterisk. Even the machine. They asked her who else knew, who else had seen the numbers, whether she made copies, and they told her it was a classified medical study, and she had nothing to worry about. Patricia quit 2 days later. She never worked again, asterisk, and before she died, she left a single note in a safe deposit box, asterisk. They weren't human. Not completely. Asterisk hours after the tests were flagged. The children were removed from the facility in the middle of the night, asterisk. No records. No transfer orders. No forwarding information. They simply disappeared. Once the DNA tests raised alarms, the government moved fast. Too fast at 3:14 a.m. The Fowler children were taken from the Lexington facility by men with badges nobody recognized. They didn't sign paperwork. They didn't explain anything. They didn't even speak. They separated the children immediately. Asterisk, no. Goodbyes. No emotional reaction. Just 3 silent. Kids led into 3 different black vehicles and gone before sunrise. The oldest girl, asterisk, the oldest girl, the humming one, was reportedly taken to a private institution in West Virginia, a fenced compound, no visitors. No state oversight. Her file shows activity until 1983. Then it stops. No death certificate, no transfer, no trace. She simply vanished from the system. Asterisk. The boy, subject to, was moved to a facility in upstate New York. Asterisk. The only surviving document about him says, non-standard neurological responses. Recommend long-term isolation. Asterisk after that. Nothing. The youngest girl, the smallest child, was sent farther away. Asterisk. To a hidden research site in the Pacific Northwest. Asterisk. One redacted report noted. Asterisk. Subject shows emotional distress when shown images of the other 2. Separation must be permanent. She too disappeared from all records. Asterisk. Margaret Vance silenced asterisk when the social worker who found them. Margaret Vance asked for updates. She was called into a meeting with her supervisor and 2 federal agents. They thanked her for her service. Then they warned her, asterisk, further inquiry may be considered obstruction. She stopped asking, but she kept copies of everything she could hide. Asterisk. Those copies would later become the backbone of everything we know today. The children were gone. Asterisk there. New locations were hidden. Asterisk. Their identities erased. Asterisk. But investigators were about to uncover something even more disturbing. Asterisk. The Fowler bloodline was no accident. It was a legacy. After the children vanished, investigators turned their attention to the Fowler family itself. Asterisk. Who were they? Asterisk. Where did they come from? Asterisk. And how could children like that exist in modern America? Asterisk. What they found was not a family tree. Asterisk. It was a closed loop, twisting back on itself for generations. A family with no beginning. Asterisk. Public records showed the Fowlers had lived on that mountain since the early 1800s. Asterisk. But there were no church records. No school records, no hospital births, asterisk, no marriages, no deaths, nothing, asterisk, whenever the Fowlers appeared in census logs. The notes were always the same. Uncooperative, strange speech, asterisk, ages uncertain. Asterisk, then, after 80 and 90, even those mentions faded away. Asterisk, it was like the family had learned how to exist without ever being counted. The private cemetery asterisk behind the old Fowler house. Investigators found an overgrown graveyard. Asterisk, dozens of crude stone. Markers. Most had no names, just dates. Scratched into stone. Asterisk, a few had symbols carved into them. The same patterns burned into the children's scalps. Asterisk, when archaeologists scanned the ground, they made a chilling discovery. There were far more graves than markers, at least 40. Maybe more, all layered over time. The government refused permission to exhume. Asterisk. They fenced the area off. Asterisk within years. The forest swallowed the graves again. Local stories passed down in whispers. Asterisk. Old residents in Harlan shared stories their grandparents had told them. Asterisk, Fowler men who rarely spoke. Their eyes too bright in lantern light. Asterisk, Fowler women seen drifting through the trees at dusk. Pale and silent. Asterisk, children who were heard playing deep in the woods, but never seen. Asterisk, and then the darker tailies. Asterisk, 3 children went missing near the Fowler property in the late 1800s. Asterisk, never found. Asterisk, families warned their kids never to go near the tree. Line. Asterisk, hunters spoke of lights moving between the trees and perfect. Patterns. Asterisk, not random, not natural, intentional. And one elderly man claimed. Asterisk, the Fowlers came here running from something, not the law, something in their blood. Bloodline preserved. Asterisk, when the government saw the Fowler children's DNA, they realized the horrifying truth. This wasn't a new mutation. This wasn't a random deformity. This was a lineage, a bloodline that had been kept isolated, asterisk, protected, preserved, and hidden for possibly thousands of years. Asterisk, asterisk. The strange eyes, the bone structure, the cold body temperatures, the ancient DNA, none of it was accidental. It was inherited. The Fowlers weren't hiding from society. They were hiding something inside themselves. Asterisk, and the 3 children found in 1976 were simply the latest generation. Asterisk, the proof that the bloodline had survived. The government knew the family was older than the records, older than the mountain towns, maybe older than the country itself. But the real question, the one that terrified investigators, was this. Asterisk, once the government understood what the Fowler children were, the mission changed instantly. Asterisk, hide the evidence. Control the narrative. Erase the bloodline. Asterisk, in less than a year. The entire case was swallowed by federal secrecy. The evidence that vanished overnight. Asterisk, police reports. Medical files, photos, everything related to the Fowler property was taken by federal agents with badges no one recognized. Local newspapers had their film rolls seized. Officers found their own notes missing from lockers. Even the crime scene photos from the house, the jars. The symbols, the strap table asterisk disappeared from evidence storage without a trace. When officers complained, they were told there is no Fowler case. The property erased asterisk in 1978. The Fowler land was seized by eminent domain and declared environmentally dangerous. No one was allowed to enter. The access road was bulldozed. New fencing went up. Warning signs appeared. Asterisk today. Satellite images of the area look strangely blurry. Asterisk, as if someone replaced the real pictures with older ones. Asterisk, researchers call it a manufactured forest. The secret facility. Asterisk, doctors and nurses from the Lexington facility later spoke anonymously. They all remembered the same things. 3 pale, silent children with low body temperatures, orders to separate them immediately. Federal men watching every move, daily confidentiality papers, no names. Only subjects, one nurse said. It felt like the kids weren't patients. Asterisk, there were specimens. The internal notes that survive asterisk, a few documents escaped the purge. Asterisk, one line stands out. Asterisk, priority. Prevent generational spread. Another, almost fully blacked out, said, continue monitoring for anomalous traits in related populations. This meant only one thing. The government feared more families like the Fowlers existed, maybe in Kentucky, maybe in Tennessee, maybe in the Carolinas, and they were looking, quietly, relentlessly. Margaret Vance shut down asterisk. The social worker who found the children tried to follow up. She was called into a small room where 2 federal agents told her, your involvement is over. Asterisk, do not pursue this case. They didn't threaten her life. They didn't need to. Asterisk. Margaret stopped asking questions. Asterisk, but she kept copies of everything in a hidden file. Asterisk. Those papers would resurface decades later, long after the government assumed they were gone. The Fowler children were taken. Their history was wiped out. Their home was erased. But one question still haunted investigators. What were the Fowlers actually running from asterisk, and why did their bloodline scare the government so much? Asterisk, after sealing the Fowler case, investigators started finding something even more disturbing. Asterisk, the Fowlers were not the only family like this. Not the only ones hiding. Not the only ones with that ancient blood. Asterisk. And that terrified the government more than anything found on the property. Traces of others asterisk when researchers dug through forgotten reports. They found old cases that looked strangely familiar. 1912, North Carolina. A mountain family speaking a strange, unknown dialect. Children described as too quiet with eyes that glowed in lamplight. 1927. Southern Ohio. A doctor reported siblings with unusual bone structure and reflexes. The report disappeared within 2 weeks. 1949. West Virginia forests. Asterisk Park. Rangers found underground rooms with symbols identical to the Fowler cellar. Every case ended the same way. Agents arriving quietly, asterisk files sealed, families vanishing. The Fowler children weren't a one-time mutation. They were part of a pattern. Asterisk. An older line than anyone expected, asterisk geneticists whispered about one. Impossible truth. Asterisk, the Fowler DNA looked like it came from a group that broke away from humanity. 8,000 to 12,000 years ago. That meant before villages, asterisk, before farming, before recorded history, before humans created borders, a branch of humanity that split off and stayed hidden, not extinct, not discovered, just living quietly in remote places where no one ever looked too closely. A bond they couldn't explain. One thing frightened officials the most. Even after being separated, the children reacted to each other. Asterisk. They panicked if shown each other's photographs. Asterisk. They hummed strange tones when stressed. Asterisk. They showed emotional reactions with no training or shared memories. One federal report called it a pre-instinctive recognition beyond normal human behavior. It was clear, whatever the Fowler children were, they were connected in a way no one understood. The government's fear, asterisk, internal memos. The few lines not redacted made one thing clear. Asterisk, this wasn't just about hiding a family. It was about stopping the spread of something ancient and unknown. One line read, asterisk, prevent further emergence. Monitor similar populations. In other words, the government believed other families carried the same blood. Asterisk, maybe in Kentucky. Maybe across Appalachia, maybe elsewhere. Asterisk, and they were searching quietly. Constantly. The old stories, asterisk. Local elders told stories older than the towns themselves. Pale figures moving silently through forests. Children who hummed strange songs at night, eyes reflecting firelight like animals, graves with no names. Only symbols, families who never mixed with outsiders for generations. People called these stories superstition. Asterisk, but after the Fowler children were found, it became clear. Asterisk, those stories were memories, not myths. The truth, no one wanted. The Fowlers weren't monsters. They weren't supernatural. They weren't aliens. They were something far more unsettling. Asterisk, a forgotten branch of humanity that never died out. A lineage that survived quietly in the hidden places of America. A bloodline that didn't fit the clean. Simple story of human history. And the 3 children in that cellar were not the end. They were a beginning, asterisk, when the Fowler children disappeared into federal custody. Most people believe the story was over. Asterisk. But the truth didn't end in 1976. Asterisk. It went underground. Just like the cellar they were found in, and the mountain never forgot. Asterisk. The files that survived the fire, asterisk, after her retirement. Margaret Vance, the social worker who found the children, kept a hidden folder locked away in her home. It contained quick sketches of the cellar, asterisk, symbols from the children's scalps, asterisk, old census notes, and the only surviving photograph of the oldest girl. The picture was grainy, taken in the dark, but one detail stood out. Asterisk, her eyes reflected the flash like an animal's. Margaret knew this wasn't something the world was ready to understand. She hid the files until her death. The Fowler land today, asterisk. The property was fenced off. No trespassing, no trails, no development. Locals say strange things happen near that ridge. Lights moving between trees in perfect patterns. Deep humming under the ground at night. Sudden cold pockets and warm air animals. Refusing to go near the old boundary line, asterisk, hunters who wander too close, say the silence. Feels alive, like the forest is waiting for something. Satellite images always appear blurry, as if someone doesn't want the world to see what's really there. The children's final fate. Some insiders claim all 3 children died during testing. Others say they're still alive adults, now kept in hidden facilities across the country. Asterisk, but one line from an old, half-redacted memo remains. Asterisk, subjects show ongoing developmental changes beyond predicted parameters. Changes, not injuries, not illness. Changes, asterisk, as if the children were becoming, asterisk, or returning to something older. A bloodline that didn't end, asterisk, for decades. The government quietly watched other mountain families, asterisk, checking bloodlines. Cross-checking ancestry, tracking unexplained disappearances, asterisk, researchers who studied the Fowler case privately reached one terrifying idea. Asterisk, the Fowler children weren't the last of their kind. They were simply the ones who got caught, and their lineage? It may still exist, hidden in remote hollers, quiet valleys, and forgotten ridges where strangers don't go and locals don't ask questions. Asterisk, families that still keep old symbols carved into stones. Families whose children hum strange tones at night. Families who look almost human. But not completely. The mountain keeps secrets. If you hike those Kentucky woods today, you won't find the Fowler house. Asterisk, you won't find the cellar. You won't find the graves. But if you stand still long enough, asterisk, in the quiet, in the heavy dark, asterisk, you might feel the same thing. Margaret felt in 1976. Asterisk that something beneath the earth is still there, still listening, still waiting, asterisk, and maybe, asterisk, just maybe, asterisk, it's waiting for someone to come looking again.